You want to hear something wild? Try buying a mountain cabin thinking you're escaping the grind only to get ambushed by an HOA president who could outlawyer a Wall Street shark on a bad day. I swear 3 days after I moved in, I barely had the boxes unpacked when there was this pounding on my door like the FBI, but worse. And there she was, this platinum blonde with sunglasses, a clipboard gripped tight, and a look that said she'd been planning this ambush since Nixon was in office. "I'm Stella Williams, president of the Ridgeview Pines HOA," she announced, sounding like she was running for president of Mars. I'll never forget it. She had two guys behind her, one with a badge, the other with a surveyor's tripod, both trying real hard to look like they belonged anywhere but my porch. I thought I left the snakes behind in Manhattan, but out here you learn fast. The most dangerous people don't need skyscrapers. They just need a homeowners meeting and an agenda. And here's where I should have trusted my gut. I let them inside. I know, big mistake, right? But I was still in vacation mode, telling myself this was just standard property transfer nonsense. 15 years of corporate law, and I figured, what's the worst an HOA could throw at me? Famous last words. Stella wasted no time, laid out her paperwork like a general mapping a battlefield. "Your cabin violates our easement agreements. You have 30 days to arbitrate with the county." She slid a stack of violations across my table: parking, utilities, landscaping, septic, the works. I flipped through them and it hit me. These complaints were too specific. Stuff about my car placement, my utility hookups, details nobody but me should have known yet. And the way her inspector Kumar kept glancing at her for approval, it was like he was auditioning for teacher's pet. Let me tell you, the psychological games were brutal. She dropped names of folks she'd saved scholarships for the Thompson Kid bailouts for families, always hinting she was the only thing standing between me and community exile. "Some people think their law degrees make them better than their neighbors," she said, flashing a smile sharp enough to cut glass. You know what I mean? This was no random HOA busybody. This was personal, and she was stacking the deck against me. 12 separate violations filed within 48 hours of my deed going public. I hadn't even used half the stuff they claimed I was violating. And every single one came with a timeline of fine, and the subtle suggestion that I should be grateful it wasn't worse. My blood boiled, but all I could do was sign for her paperwork and watch my coffee go cold. The kicker. As she left, she turned with this icy grin and said, "Welcome to Ridgeview Pines, Mr. Johnson. I hope our community standards prove educational." My hands were literally shaking. That night, I called my law partner, Rebecca Davis. She listened and said, "Henry, this is orchestrated. That woman is running a system. I spent the night with 12 violations spread out across the dining table hunting for patterns." Rebecca called back the next morning, "Henry, she's been watching property transfers. She knew you were a lawyer before you even finished signing." Chills, man. She was tracking buyers like a hawk, and I just stepped right into the trap. Turns out this wasn't just HOA overreach. It was a whole machine. Every official in town owed Stella something. County clerk got a mortgage bailout. Deputy's kid had a scholarship. Inspector Kumar got his job thanks to her. She wasn't just playing the game, she was the game. The first county hearing was a farce. I rolled in with precedent, statutes, constitutional rights. Hell, I could have taught a law school class on property disputes. Didn't matter. 6 out of 9 on the panel were Stella's friends. Voted against me without even blinking. The next week, my biggest clients back in New York dropped me, said they couldn't risk controversy. That was $600,000 in revenue gone because of a mailbox violation in Colorado. That's when the stress started to eat me alive. Panic attacks, sleepless nights. Even Sarah, my wife, started asking if fighting this was worth destroying our family. I started to wonder the same. But then out of nowhere, Mike Thompson came to my rescue. He was the local contractor, one of Stella's supposed success stories, right? Only he'd stumbled on one of her private coordination meetings with county officials, and his conscience just wouldn't let it go. "This isn't community protection," he told me. "It's organized harassment." He'd heard her say it outright. "If the money doesn't work, we'll use what we found in his past." I had no idea what she thought she could dig up, but the threat was real. The war cranked up from there. Environmental violations, tax audits, ethics, complaints, you name it, they came at me from every angle. My reputation, my business, even my health, they went after everything at once. I started getting the cold shoulder from colleagues, and the stress landed me in the ER twice. Sarah finally hit her limit. Settle, or I'm taking the kids and going to my mother's, she said, folding laundry like she was packing to leave. But right when I was about to cave, Mike dropped the mother of all bombshells. While fixing a busted light in the HOA office, he found years' worth of financial records. Stella had been funneling $350,000 to her nephew's fake company for maintenance. Pure embezzlement. He brought the paperwork to me, hands shaking. I told Rebecca, who got the DA's office involved. For the first time, we had a shot. But Stella, she didn't just sit back, she attacked. Mike blocked his permits, threatened his kid's scholarship, turned neighbors against his family. Suddenly he was the traitor, and half the community believed it. She stood up at the next meeting and waved evidence of my so-called criminal past. Turns out she'd spent $15,000 on a PI building a file on me before I'd even found the cabin listing. Why would she do that? Rebecca asked. Who else is she watching? And that's when the real pattern emerged. Margaret Foster, a retired teacher, run out after 8 months of fake violations. David and Jennifer from Denver, gone after a year of tax audits and landscaping complaints. It was like a bad playbook she just kept running year after year. The moral toll on Mike's family was brutal. His wife shunned his kid, isolated, business referrals dried up, all because he chose the truth over comfort. The community started to split. About a quarter saw the light and wanted Stella out. A third clung to her side, and the rest just prayed for the drama to end. But I'd seen enough. If we back down, I told Rebecca, she'll do it again. Mike's sacrifice has to mean something. Finally, the day came for the big county hearing. Stella came loaded for Bear supporters, documents, witnesses, the whole 9 yards. I walked in expecting to get railroaded, but Rebecca had one last ace up her sleeve. When the room got quiet, she dropped the master deed on the table. Turns out, thanks to a technicality in the sale, I didn't just own my lot. I owned all 47 lots in the common areas, utilities, the entire development. Stella's face went white as a ghost. Her clipboard hit the floor. For a second, the room just stopped breathing. She tried to pivot: tenant rights, gentrification, warfare, you name it. But the facts were there in black and white. Some folks apologized. Some doubled down. Most just sat shell-shocked as their protector got revealed as the worst kind of manipulator. But you know, bullies, they never go quietly. Stella rallied the tenants, coordinated rent strikes, sabotaged common areas, vandalized the playground, the whole 9 yards. But this time it backfired. Parents saw their kids with nowhere safe to play. Seniors had to drive miles for mail. People finally got it. She's hurting us to hurt him. And then came the media. Denver Post, Colorado Law Journal, they ran with it. Stella's pattern of abuse wasn't community protection. It was harassment. With Mike's evidence, Inspector Kumar's confession, and a grand jury recommendation, the DA slapped her with 18 felony counts: embezzlement, conspiracy, property destruction, the works. Her arrest was public, dramatic, and honestly about time. The trial was a circus. Stella tried to claim she was a selfless guardian, but nobody bought it. Not after the documents, the fake contracts, the confessions. She got 7 years, $850,000 in restitution, banned from ever touching community governance again. Watching her break down in court was the kind of justice I didn't know I needed. My practice bounced back bigger than ever, turns out, exposing. HOA corruption makes you popular with folks who've been pushed around. Mike got voted property manager, his family got their life back, and the community, it finally learned what democracy is supposed to look like. Transparency, elections, conflict resolution that doesn't involve sabotage. Property values shot up. People started trusting again. Sarah came home, finally saw what I'd been fighting for. Our marriage got stronger. Even the DA said our case changed how county officials handle HOA complaints statewide. 5 years later, Ridgeview Pines is the kind of place you actually want to live, safe, open, democratic. Kids on the playground, neighbors at cookouts, no more fear, no more secrets. And that's how I learned sometimes the only way to take down a tyrant is to let them show everyone who they really are. I paid the price, but I do it all again. Because when your neighbors finally stand up and say no more, that's how you turn a community around. Ever had to fight someone who held all the cards, or maybe you back down and it still haunts you? Drop your story in the comments. And hey, if you believe in real justice, hit subscribe, smash that. Like and tell us what you'd have done if you were in my shoes. Because around here, the story's never really over.